Hi everybody, I'm Tyler with RekoHub.com, and today I'm going to talk about how you can start your own Reko Ring or Reko Drop location. I'm going to turn off my camera now to make it a little bit easier to see this presentation so that we can go through this together, and hopefully this gives you a good idea of what you can do to promote locally produced food sales in your area through starting a Reko Drop, aka a Reko Ring. Now before we get started, I want to introduce to you the big problem as it currently exists. Right now, there is over $1 trillion spent every year on local food in the United States, and only 4 billion of that is on local food. That's less than 0.5% of all food spend is spent on locally produced food. That means 99.5% of all the food that people buy is shipped from an average of 1,500 to 2,000 miles away. Local food, on contrast, usually is only about 50 miles. Now, the major reason for this is there are 4 points of friction in the customer journey when they're trying to buy local food: discovery, transaction, availability, and fulfillment. And the reason we're going to talk about this is because if you understand these points of friction and you work to reduce those points of friction, you'll notice that your sales start growing exponentially. This has been shown in a number of different cases. As friction is reduced for the customer, they'll start purchasing more and more and more, sometimes even independent or regardless of price. Here's what I want you to think of when you think discovery. Is in the customer's mind, they're thinking, how do I find it, right? If I want to find local beef, local honey, local produce, the peaches that should be in season right now, how do I find it? Do I drive around looking for the farm stand? Do I do a Google search? And this is the first big point of customer friction. I'm going to show you an example of this. I do this Google search almost everywhere that I travel: local produce near me, local beef near me, etc. And very, very rarely do actual farms show up. You notice all these red circles we've got are large chain grocery stores. There is a farmer's market that shows up, which is nice, but I know because I work with them, there are about a dozen farmers in this area. They just don't show up in the search results. Next is transaction. This is the customer saying, how do I buy it, right? I found you. Now, how do I buy your stuff? I'm used to shopping on Amazon where I can just check out online. Is that how I'm doing it? Do I show up to the farm stand and bring cash? Is it check? Is it card? Is it Bitcoin? Here's some examples of where there's a lot of friction in the process. A lot of farmers, because they have a hard time being discovered on Google, resort to using Facebook as a way, and especially local Facebook groups, as a way to get the word out about their stuff, about their products, which is great. It's a good way to market yourself. But then customers are left with this cumbersome, friction-full way of purchasing. So in this case, you can see one lady says, here's my bank details, just send me a bank wire, which that's a friction-full process for customers. We're used to just one-click checkout on Amazon or tap to pay, whatever else. And on the right-hand side, we have this 5-message back and forth Facebook comment trying to coordinate a single Venmo transfer for an $8 stick of butter. It's kind of crazy from a customer's perspective to think, oh wow, that was how difficult it was to buy a single stick of butter. I can't imagine doing all of my grocery shopping from 4 different farmers or 6 different farmers, however many it takes to get my beef, my milk, my eggs, my cheese, etc. And so customers opt out. They say, you know what, this is just too hard. Maybe I'll do it once, or maybe once in a while, but I'll just go to Walmart. I'll just go to Kroger's. I'll go to Safeway. The third pain point for customers, the third friction point, is availability. They need to know, when can I get this? Can I show up 24/7 like at Walmart? Just show up anytime, day or night? Is it Monday through Friday during business hours, or is the availability a little more limited? So making your availability known is the first step, and then 2, expanding that availability where it makes sense. Of course, it would be ridiculous to expect you to be open 24/7, but having availability for customers to come and pick up food is absolutely crucial. At least consistency with it, where they know when and where they can pick up. And then the last one is fulfillment. How do I get it? Is it pickup? Is it delivery? Do I show up to your farm stand? Are we meeting at the Home Depot parking lot? Where are we going to fulfill? Once you understand these 4 points of friction and you reduce them, and we see this everywhere we're launching new Reko drops and where farmers are starting to use our software, the local food spend starts expanding exponentially. And this is what we expect to happen over the next 10 years, is that local food will grow at least 25 times to a $100 billion market in the United States. We expect it to be about 10% of the total food spend, if not 15-20%, but we're going to aim for 10% initially as we drive down the friction that currently exists with customers in the market. So now that all that's out of the way, we're going to get into how to start a Reko Drop or a Reko Ring. And if you're not familiar, there's a lot of great information online about what is a Reko Ring. We'll drop some links in the comments as well, or excuse me, in the description as well, so you can view that. But in essence, it's a group of farmers that gets together and decides on a common place, day, and time to meet for their customers to pick up orders from each other. So if you sell beef and your neighbor sells pork and your neighbor sells raw milk and someone else does produce, you might all get together and say, hey, every Wednesday night from 5 to 5:30, we're going to meet at the church parking lot or the this park area or wherever it is, and our customers can pick up orders from us. And what happens is the customers start cross-pollinating and everybody gets more orders because you've just reduced the friction. Now, instead of going to 4 different farms, I can go to one location, I can check out at one place, and I can get most of my groceries without having to spend a lot of time driving around and hunting down lots of different local producers. So here are the 7 steps to start a Reko Drop. We're going to go over these each in detail. First, you need to create a couple of Google Forms. This is where you're going to be collecting initial information, initial data. Next is you'll start a Facebook group. Third is you'll organize your producers and your Reko market on RekoHub.com. Next, you're going to choose a place, day, time, and launch date. Then, of course, you can consider delivery. That's optional. And then spreading the word and ongoing growth. So, Google Forms. This is the easiest way to collect information about people that might be interested in something. So you just go to drive.google.com, click New, and then click Google Form. Title the form something like, in my case, Southern Utah Reko Producer Questionnaire. You'll create 2 forms, one for producers, one for customers. And the goal of each form is different. The goal of the producer questionnaire is to gather a list of everyone in your local area who would be interested in selling locally produced food in your Reko Drop. So this could be, it's people that do beef, honey, eggs, cheese, milk, produce seasonally, or if they have a greenhouse, things like that. It could also be local bakers who make delicious sourdough breads and dinner rolls and things like that. You're gonna think, what do I need in order to get customers to say I can do my grocery shopping here, right? I can do 50%, 70%, 90% of my grocery shopping right here in this Reko Drop. Those are the kind of producers that you're going to want to get. You're going to want their name and the name of their farm or name of their business, an email and phone to contact them at, and then you'll want to know what they sell, right? What are they looking to sell? Some other questions you could add would be like, what's the ideal time and day for you, or maybe put your top 3 time and days that work for a Reko Drop so that we can try to coordinate the best one that works for everybody. You can also ask for recommendations on where to hold the Reko Drop. We'll get into that in a little bit. And then you'll make the same type of a form for the customer, name, contact, etc. But this one should be more focused on what does the customer want to see, right? Maybe you've got a lot of customers that want to see local made salsa or tamales or whatever. Maybe they're more interested in like some actually farm to table like prepped meals instead of just the raw ingredients. And maybe you consider in your Reko Drop having someone who's really good at meal prep, gathering some food from a bunch of the different farmers and then doing meal prep with it. And then you're going to share these forms on local Facebook groups, email lists, anywhere you can to gather as many responses as possible. Now at the same time, and probably actually before you share these, you should be creating a local Facebook group. And typically the best way to do this is to create a private group, not a page, called something like Southern Utah Reko Drop or Boise, Idaho Reko Drop, something like that. And typically you want to set this as private, not public. The reason why is because if you do a public group, it often gets overrun with spam really quickly, or fake accounts, spam accounts. So you want to put just at least a little barrier for people to be able to get into the group to make sure you're filtering out as much spam as possible. Makes your life easier later on down the road. Same thing with doing a group versus a page. Group is usually better because it's easier to let other people put posts in it. initially you'll just have this place be a place where admins can post or yourself, but eventually you'll want to allow all of the producers to freely post so that when they have new produce coming into season or a new offering or something like that, they can post that in the Facebook group and let customers be aware of it. Now share this Facebook group as many places as you can to get interested customers to join, and you're going to use this to drive up excitement and get people ready for when you set your initial launch date. So these two things, the Google Forms, the Facebook group, should go in tandem. And on the customer Google form, you can even include a link to the Facebook group saying, hey, make sure that you join this Facebook group for more updates and information. Now, optionally, there are some admins that create a second Facebook group only for producers. So this would just be like Southern Utah Producer Reko Group. And this would just be a way to make it really easy for the producers to talk back and forth. Perhaps somebody, something came up where they can't make it to the Reko Drop, so they need to drop their stuff off with someone else who can bring it for them. Or maybe they have a question they need answered that's more of just should we change the day because this Wednesday happens to fall on some special local community day and it might not be good. So that there could be a good reason for that, but usually just the one group is fine. Just make sure you have a way to communicate with all of your producers. Next, you're going to choose a place, day, time, and launch date for the Reko Drop. Now, from the list of producers that you've gathered from the Google form, you're going to find your initial group. And again, typically, if you want to do a successful Reko Drop, you're going to have at least the following: beef, eggs, milk, produce as it's seasonally available, or again, if someone has a greenhouse, baked goods, and honey. That gives people enough where they can say, hey, you know what? I can do about half or maybe even 70-80% of my grocery shopping just from the Reko Drop. I don't need to go to Walmart. I don't need to go to Safeway or Smith's or Aldi's. I can just shop at the Reko Drop. Now, of course, there's other things that are great to have too. If you have chicken meat, pork, if you have other things, that's phenomenal. Cheese and other dairy products. But the staples are what you're looking for, and if you don't have all of that, you can still launch absolutely and be successful. But those are typically the things you want to see. With eggs especially, it's a good idea to have multiple people who can provide eggs because eggs run out fast. Almost every Reko drop that we've coordinated and helps launch, the people that are bringing eggs, they run out of eggs every single week. And so you've got to have multiple people doing eggs. And this is a little bit the laws of supply and demand, right? There's pent-up demand in every local community right now. Think of it like a soda bottle that's just been shaken up. It's pent-up demand, but these customers aren't shopping local because it's so hard to do. It's not frictionless. You're creating this really easy, frictionless experience for them. So you'll have a lot of demand just right out the gate, and be ready for that. Because if you have too much demand and not enough people ready to provide eggs and things like that, that can create a poor experience where customers think, oh, I'm just not going to shop here because I can never get my eggs, I can never get whatever. So make sure you've got a decent bit, even if I would even err on the side of having too many producers initially as opposed to too few. Next, choose a location, a day and time for the Reko Drop to occur. Make sure to coordinate with producers so it works for everyone. Some things to consider about the location. Number one, make sure you have permission to be there if you are doing it in a place that's like not your own private residence or something. For example, some really common Reko Drop locations are like a public parking lot. That's totally fine. Usually also any public access areas like a grocery store parking lot or like a Home Depot parking lot are also okay. One of the nice things about grocery store parking lots is it makes it easy for people to coordinate a grocery trip. So it's like if they can get 60% of their stuff through the local Reko Drop, and then they can just run to the grocery store to get the other 40% of what they need for their groceries each week. That makes it really easy for customers to participate. And the day and time should be something that it makes it also easy for customers to participate, right? So like choosing Saturday at 5 o'clock in the morning is probably not a great time if you want your customers to show up. Typically, a Reko Drop will be anywhere from 15 minutes up to an hour long, never longer than an hour. You want something that's long enough for the customers to be able to make it and pick up their food, but not so long that it's forcing everybody to sit around and wait for customers for a long time, right? That's more of the farmer's market model where you're just sitting and customers meander around. We're looking at something that's a little more efficient, and it helps both customers and producers get in and out real quick without having to spend a whole lot of time. So typically 15 to 30 minutes is that real sweet spot that works great, but you can go a little longer if you want to. Now, another thing to consider here, this is an experiment that we're running right now with a Reko group, or we're about to run, is having the Reko Drop set at somebody's home that has a lot of extra freezer and fridge space, and making it a daily Reko Drop. So now customers can pick up, maybe Monday through Friday, any day, and the producers just drop inventory off at the fridge and freezers a couple times a week, right? Or as needed to make sure there's enough in there for when customers order. So it's a really interesting way to potentially get more customers and drive down friction by saying, hey, you know what, you're not limited just to Wednesday nights. You can come any evening, Monday through Friday. But again, this is experimental, and it of course requires somebody who's willing to open up their home to do that. And so it may or may not work for your location. Next, you're going to organize your group on RekoHub.com. This is a really easy process, and there will be a link in the description of this video so you can see how to do this. First step is to create a seller profile, and it takes about 2 minutes to do that. It's all free, 100%, like no monthly cost, no commissions, no transaction fees. At RekoHub.com, we make our money by the transaction, but we pass the transaction fee on to the customer rather than charging it to the seller. So it is completely free for all sellers to use. And you can use this for any market that you're a part of. So you can be a part of multiple Reko Drops. You can be a part of a farmer's market. You could even add your own farm stand schedule to there for people who are picking up from you on the farm stand. So you're going to create your seller profile. Then once that's created, you'll go to markets if you're the market admin and hit create new market. If you're being invited into a market, just wait for the market admin to send you the invite link. That way you don't all accidentally create new markets in the same area that are supposed to be the same market. You should name this the same as your Facebook group. So for example, Southern Utah Reko, or Reko South Boise, or whatever have you. And then share the tutorial video link of how to start a seller profile with all of your producers that you got from the Google form that are going to be a part of this initial Reko Drop. And make sure that they set up their seller profiles and set up their items, and then have them message you when they have that created. Once they have it created, you'll go back to your RekoHub.com account, go to markets, click on the market that you created, and then click on sellers and invite sellers. And again, all of this will be in the video tutorials. And then you'll use that link to invite the producers to sell in the market that you created. Now, delivery, if you want to offer delivery, this is optional. There's not a clean way to do this in the software yet, but we are building it right now, so we expect it to be available sometime in 2025. So if you want to offer delivery, here's how you do it. You choose somebody as the designated delivery driver, whoever wants to do it. It could be someone who's a producer or just someone who wants to earn some extra cash. If it's not a producer, then make sure you invite them as a seller and have them create an item called Deliver My Order. If they are already a producer, then they'll just create an item called Deliver My Order. Set the price of whatever you'd like to be paid per delivery. In the item description, make sure you describe the delivery area so customers know, hey, this is the only area I deliver in. And then when customers want delivery, they'll select that. I'll add that item to their cart, and then here's some things to consider though, right? Is you'll have to go around to the Reko Drop and say you have a box for John Doe. So you're gonna have a box labeled John Doe, delivery for John Doe. You'll have a box labeled John Doe. You'll have to go to all the producers and say, hey, do you have anything for John Doe? He's my delivery. I've got, or Sally Sue or whatever else. These are my deliveries for the week. Please put your stuff in the delivery boxes if you have anything for John Doe and Sally Sue. And they'll put their stuff in the delivery boxes, and then you'll have to message each of the customers who ordered delivery. There's a way to do that through the Reko Hub software and the Reko Hub app. It's an app as well as a website, so you can download the app and manage it from your phone or your computer. You'll message them and say, hey, I got your order for delivery. Let me know what your address is, and I'll deliver it Wednesday night after the Reko Drop. So you'll gather all the stuff and then start doing the deliveries. And so that's how it works right now. We're going to build in something where this is automated so that if you want to offer delivery, it will automatically collect the delivery address and the optimized delivery route for you. But for now, that's something you'll have to manage on your own if you want to offer delivery. Next up is spreading the word. Now that you've got everything organized, the group is set up, it's time to let people know about it. Remember, you've worked really hard at this point to reduce the friction. You've made it incredibly easy for people to find the local food because you've organized it all into one place, one Reko Drop. You've made it very easy for them to transact because with RekoHub.com, it's a single checkout experience to order from all of the producers. Say you have 10 producers in your group that offer different things, and I'm a customer. Instead of doing 10 different checkouts on 10 different websites and sending 3 as a Venmo and 2 as a PayPal and bring cash and then some as a card, I can just do a single checkout, order from everybody. The money automatically splits and goes to who it's supposed to go to. And so that friction is totally reduced. And this is what's going to shock all of the customers, is they're going to see this and they're going to go, oh my gosh, this is beautiful. It's a great experience. I love it. I'm going to start ordering. And you'll be surprised how many people order just because of how easy it is all of a sudden. And when you create a group, you'll have a share link on that group that if you share that link, it will take people straight to your group on RekoHub.com so that they can see all of the stuff in that area. Share that on local Facebook pages that allow it, any email lists from each producer. Each producer, by the way, should be more than willing to help market the Reko Drop. And there shouldn't be any scarcity with this, because what ends up happening is the cross-pollination between customers is just phenomenal, right? So if, say I'm a customer who orders local honey from I got my honey guy and he does honey. And I say, hey, I want to get honey from you this week. How do I do it? And he sends me a link to the Reko group. He says, just order from here now. That's the easiest way. Well, I'm going to open that up and I'm going to go, oh my gosh. He's there with, I got honey, I've got beef, I've got cheese, I got milk. I can just do all of my grocery shopping here now. And so I start ordering from everybody because it's just so dang easy. So every producer should be sending it out to their email lists, their customer lists. It's a great way for you guys to cross-pollinate and help everybody make more sales. Local media also loves this kind of stuff. You can get a lot of free local media if you contact your local news stations, local radios. They love to promote this kind of stuff for free. Be the first one to let people know about it because it helps them, have more credibility, more validity in the local communities. So you can get a lot of free media just by contacting local news stations and letting them know. Billboards, paid ads, etc. Not necessary. They can be useful though. So if you want to launch like a billboard campaign, local billboard campaigns usually cost anywhere from a few $100s to maybe $1,000 a month, depending on what kind of a place you live in. So it might be worth it, might not, depending on your area. Paid ads, same thing. You could do some Google or Facebook ads. I wouldn't recommend it initially. I don't think it's necessary, but if you want to, you could try it. One thing that is really nice, though, is creating a Google My Business profile for the Reko Drop. And it's kind of a little bit of a gray hat tactic, I suppose. Google doesn't always really like it, but they also allow it because they recognize this is what people are looking for. So that way when people are Googling local produce near me or local beef near me, instead of getting Walmart to show up, you guys start showing up in those search results. So some ways to spread the word. And then last, ongoing growth. Utilize that Facebook group that you created. Keep people excited and engaged. What we found works great is constant posts from the producers saying, hey, this is what I've got available this week. Here's a recipe that you could make with this squash that just came into season. Here's a meal plan that you could make with things from the Reko group, things like that, things that are engaging, exciting. And what you're doing here is you've got to work to transition people's mindsets from, it's really cute to order local food sometimes from my farmer's market, I'll go get a loaf of bread or whatever, to I do all of my grocery shopping local, or at least as much as is possible, right? Like maybe it's not possible to grow bananas in your area, so you always got to go to the store to get bananas. That's fine. But maybe 50%, 60%, 80% of your food, my wife and I think we do about 90% of our food is now local from our local Reko Drop. And so that's what you've got to help people see, is this is your grocery shopping now. We're not asking you to spend more money. We're asking you to spend your money differently. If you need any help or have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. You can reach me here, Tyler@RekoHub.com. I would love to help you get a Reko Drop set up. I hope this was useful. I know it's a little bit long of a video, but I wanted to get something out there because I feel like there's not a great resource yet for how to get a Reko Drop started. And this should go through the steps as they currently are for best practices for starting a Reko Ring. Again, thank you for all you do to promote local food, to help secure the food supply chain by being a local farmer, rancher, or food producer. We love you. We want to help you and support you. So please reach out with anything we can do. Thanks again.